Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome. Welcome to another CryptoManiacs podcast. Here, streaming for your viewing pleasure on Vim, but we're also uploaded on ThreeSpeak. On the interwebs, of course, through Anchor and through Podping. Big shout out to the traveling. Do you know where our good friend Brian of London is right now?
No, I just put him in the category of stalkers, and I don't give it a thought where the hell they are because who the hell knows where they are. I don't know. Last I heard, Brian was going to Australia, and he did make it because somebody talked about him and Andrew being in court there, which he
Right.
went there. But he took like a detour through India or something. So I don't know. It's
That's
like,
what I was kind of following him on Twitter, and one second he said he's in India, and the next second he's in Australia. I was
yeah,
like, this is
with these guys, we need to like do a Where's Waldo or have like
it's amazing.
those things online where you do a map and it's like you follow like the airline, like when the plane's flowing. It's like, oh, there's Brian now. I don't know. I figure he'll just show up on the broadcast one of these days. So he'll have no fear with Brian. He'll reappear.
Yeah, he wants to. Last I heard, he wants to talk about value for value and why the tipping economy is a good idea. And
Yeah, I think he got pissed at me because I said
probably
the future
I
is
would
not
too.
in tip up.
Yeah.
Actually, my problem is, and I do look forward to that debate. My problem is I think the future of micropayments is not tipping, it's in automated payments like royalties and things like that. And I honestly think that's where the future value for value is. Like, I mean, you have a music business background. I mean, let's say, John, you did something on a song which entitles you to, let's say, 0.75%
Hmm.
of the purchase price. And so there's a 99-cent sale on the Apple store. Well, you're entitled to 0.75% of that. Well, you break it down into USD, that's like half a cent, and that's impossible in USD. But in cryptocurrency with micropayments, I mean, every time that song sold, you could get the equivalent of half a cent in Satoshi or in HBD or in whatever. And then, I mean, what about servers? And, if I have to use your phone for fog computing or edge computing, how do I pay you? And, what do I pay you for the 45 seconds I use it? There's a host of applications that are going to be developed in
Mm.
technology that I think micropayments are going to really come in handy for.
There you go.
But
Dude, other than let's play catch up, man, because you weren't here on Thursday. You were having interwebs problems.
yes,
So
and I was disappointed in that for two reasons. A, I missed the show, and B, I missed talking to Blaine. Not that you and Blaine didn't have a wonderful show. It's just what the hell's going on. I
mm,
had questions, and so I think it was a shame, but you guys pulled off a great show, and
mm.
obviously I'm sitting here now. I got my phone
Very
because
nice. Very
I,
nice.
I, I downloaded. Well, I actually had Keychain on my phone, but I'm sitting here viewing as
Ah.
we're going to the show. And I will say, I keep hitting the NSFW button and nothing comes up. So I want to find out where John has his maple leaf. Somebody sent out a tweet about John's maple leaf, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of that, but no pun intended. But anyway, leaving John and his maple leaf aside. Um, yeah, you guys did a great job. I mean, Blaine is obviously producing some great things in terms of technology. You guys have some terrific ideas, and uh, I think everybody who watches the show knows I'm very high on views, and
Hmm.
also the integration into other aspects of the platform, the tokenomics that you ultimately come out with, which uh, how that'll look, I don't know, but I'm excited to see that, how you tie it back into listeners. And I thought Blaine had a wonderful answer to listeners, when I think you asked him about it, but somehow you guys got on listeners.
Hmm.
And he said, listen, it worked. It changed email marketing and click-through rates and all that stuff. And that was the goal. Now you have to expand upon it. The one thing is good. You're fortunate I wasn't on the show though, because I would have blasted you again because you talk about, use case for our token. And it's like, why do you keep telling people to give it away? That's what use case says. Don't hold it. It won't have more value in the future. Give it to us because it won't have any value.
Well, I tried to do that with Bitcoin over the past couple of years, and no one wanted to give me any Bitcoin.
That's the problem with Hive. That's the problem with Bitcoin. That's the problem with what I now call value capture tokens. And you and I had a discussion a week or two ago because you did ask about Bitcoin, and I agree. I don't think Bitcoin will be a medium of exchange simply because the speculative nature of Bitcoin says, why should I give you, John, your car dealership? Why should I give you 30,000 in Bitcoin today when I believe it'll be worth 4x down the road? So effectively, I'm paying $120,000 for the car today.
Right.
And that's the mindset, and rightly so. I mean, I don't go to your car lot and buy a car with my Tesla stock or my Home Depot stock or my Amazon stock. I go and pay it with, the Canadian dollar, US dollar, euro, whatever my currency is. And so that's where I think Hive, especially, we have HBD, it's a established coin. It's something fantastic that we have at the base layer. There's no counterparty risk. And I think everybody on Hive, all project teams need to really start to build around that as the payment token, and then look at Hive and their own community tokens as value capture and start to use the community tokens as a way to incentivize different things on your platforms. And I know you have some ideas about incentivization using CTP and some of that other stuff, which I think is a great idea. And I think at that level, then you really can make some headway because you're saying to somebody, here's a reward, we'll call it, or here's a way you can earn, or here's a way you get this token today, which everybody says, cool. But it can be worth 4x, it can be worth 5x, it can be worth 20x down the road. We are working to make CTP worth, pick a number, 30 cents. Well, it's at, I haven't looked, but whatever it's at, 3 cents, that's a 10x. Well, great. If you earned 10 tokens today for doing whatever, imagine what that'll be worth if it's worth 30 cents a piece. I mean, that's the stuff people, and that's what we think about. I mean, Dan, I was listening to the latest CTC, and he even mentioned that. It's like, I do side hustles so I don't have to dip into my Hive. He goes, I play poker and I grind, and when I need money, I go get money because I don't want to, Hive is going to be worth a whole lot more money in the future, in my opinion. And, that's the same thing with all of us. I think, we all feel that about Hive. Now the key is to get people to feel that about Leo, about CTP, about these layer 2 tokens. And that is going to come, in my opinion, as a result of the project teams building, showing people there is stuff here, showing people there's stuff moving forward, which I think listeners did, I think Views does, and developing economies around these tokens within your community, that all of a sudden it's like, you know what, if you get rid of that CTP or you get rid of those listeners, you're a horse's ass. If you really are. I mean, that's the point you got to get people to. And, it's like, no way you're going to get my lead. No way you're going to touch my CTP. I mean, I'm not going to part with it. I am very optimistic about what Cal and his team is doing. I'm optimistic about what you and Blaine and Eliane are doing. So, I mean, if you want any of my CTP, go drop dead. I'm going to hold it. And, maybe it turns into nothing. It's a risk on my part. But knowing what I know about some of your plans, what roadmap you put out, and how Blaine and you aren't going to give up and you're just going to keep grinding. He's going to pound out code. You're going to keep going in your notebook and drawing things up, even if it takes 5 years to come to fruition, like with Views. To me, that's something I can wait around till, I'm not worried about what CTP is next week. Come see me in 2030, and then maybe CTP will be worth $3-4, and I'll have a nice little stake there.
Yeah, and then how much did you spend on getting CTP? You've been just creating. And
Well,
you know,
I've been creating and then staking, and yeah, I mean, it's just it's part of that age of abundance I talk about. Absolutely,
right.
we get rewarded for these things, but by the same token, there's a lot of people who get rewarded, then they can sell them,
Yeah.
and it's like and to be honest with you, I do that with some tokens. I mean, I went through earlier and cleaned out some of my tribal dex tokens and got it into Hive or Swap Hive, and I
Right.
keep it in that because I mean, there's just a lot of things I'm not really going to either investigate. I'm not that high on. I mean, there's only, like you said, there's only so much we can focus upon.
Yeah.
So I've from the get go said, and I learned this in the ICO craze when I saw people, I'm invested in 40 tokens. Like, how the fuck do you understand that many projects? You
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
And now it's not so much understanding these projects, it's dedicating time. I don't have time to keep up with all this stuff and figure out what, Hash Kings is showing up all over the place. I'll be honest with you. I don't have time to figure out what Hash Kings is doing. I'm not saying anything good or bad about Hash Kings. I'm just saying they seem to be all over the place. They seem to be developing stuff. It's very interesting. I think it's great for Hive from what little I can see. But I don't have days to go and investigate Hash Kings. But
They're
if you're
the number one user of Hive Pay. So I'm
what's
just
that?
they're number one user of Hive Pay. So they've
And,
integrated Hive Pay and everything. So we're obviously big fans of what they're doing. So big.
I mean, I put out a tweet last week about Hive Pay. I think again, if you're on Hive, what I just said about HBD, if you're creating a project on Hive and you have a website that you cater to, non-Hivians, you should have Hive Pay. That should be integrated into your website for any payment you have. You should integrate Hive Pay into it, and that way you can take an assortment of tokens, most importantly HBD, and you don't have to deal with PayPal.
Yeah.
And you can have PayPal stuff on there or Visa stuff. That's fine, but at least utilize what's here. No,
Don't go near PayPal. Let PayPal ride off into the sunset.
well, at least till they take your fucking account. Not that
Right,
would ever
exactly.
happen,
Until they
John,
take
would
your
it?
account, after 17 years. I'm not bitter. Speaking of HBD, this is I made two big blog posts today because I was having like absolute Hive fanboyisms all week long. And the first one was Cal tweeted out.
Wait.
Because
Which post? The post that you, by the way, you're trending on Leo because I really liked your post. The
Thank
one,
you.
I think it was from yesterday. What was the name of it?
Well, the win-win-win-win blockchain
Yeah.
was yesterday. And then
Okay, that's the one I read.
right. I'll touch on that. But
Okay.
first, I called it
Okay.
the Hive Dream. And the Hive Dream was watching this account, Lazy
Oh,
Panda.
400.
The Lazy Panda. So whoever Lazy
400
Panda
HP.
is, they and Cal tweeted this out, and he basically said, okay, so this account bought and got 600,000 HBD and put it into savings. Currently, that means they're getting about $10,000 a month in interest payments. So $10,000 a month.
400,000 they put up, but whatever.
Yeah, but they have 600,000 now or what, right?
There was a lot of HBD.
A lot of HBD. So I called the post that I did the Hive Dream, and I thought it'd be really cool to touch on with you because you're obviously a raving fanboy of Hive, but also HBD. And one of the comments in the blog post hit me. I'll destroy the guy's name. It's Z. He's from South Africa. Great dude. He's always in my comments, and he was like, "I only got like about 100 or so HBD right now, but if I keep on the rate I'm going, I'll hit 600,000 HBD by the time I hit 61." Because he's in his 20s or something like that, right? So it's like 40 years of putting into HBD.
Yeah.
Now, few things. Obviously, there's no guarantee that HBD is going to be at 20% in 20 years from now. We don't know. But let's say everything works out. I'm sitting there reading his comment and going, holy crap. 61 years old, so that's like 4 years before you're technically supposed to retire, right? 65 is the year you're supposed to retire. So 4 years before that, and then he'd be getting about $10,000 a month. That's a pretty good retirement, man. I mean, and this was the Hive Dream. This is my question to you. Is HBD the most, and this is why guys like Lazy Panda, whoever this awesome person is, went and put 600,000 HBD in savings. Is this the most slept on secret in all of crypto, and the most idiot proof way to actually take advantage of a blockchain and cryptocurrency? I'll ask you.
Yeah, I mean it starts on how do I answer this? Well, first off, what your commenter was referring to is known as the power of compound interest. So
Yep.
when you look at stuff over a 40-year period of time, small numbers can become very, very big.
Right.
20%, people don't realize what the fuck that means. Warren Buffett, who's considered by many to be the greatest investor of all time,
Right.
for a half a century averaged 20% returns
Right.
in Berkshire Hathaway. And that's how he took, what did he start Berkshire Hathaway with? 500,000 or $5 million. $5 million into whatever the hell the market cap of Berkshire is today, however many hundreds of billions. And that's how he could do it.
Yeah.
So, yes, and I'm going to be writing an article. I'm like you. I've been doing different types of research, not sitting on Twitter getting these ideas, but I've been doing different research. And just today alone, my posting list, I'm like you, I have a list written down on back of envelopes and all kinds of shit right next to my laptop. And I got like 10 pages just of notes that are ideas. And I had like 6 ideas today. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
man. And I'm in the middle of writing, creating HBD, creating a currency series. And I got one day of it. And it's like probably a 4 or 5 day series. And I got one. And then last night I watched the Hive Development show. And I said, okay, well, I got to write about the smart contract platform. And, it's just, you know how it goes. There's times where you just get so much stuff. It's like, I'll be right for the next month. Well, I'd be doing that anyway. So, that's called consistency. But yes, HBD is really, it's sustainable. It's a fantastic return. People who don't realize the power of HBD are really missing a major part of the Hive story, because unlike CTP, unlike Leo, unlike Hive, unlike Bitcoin, unlike any of this other shit, HBD is established. So we can talk about saving 100 HBD or 400 or 600,000 HBD, or we can talk like we will on Thursday when we have Edmundo from Hive Sucre about spending HBD and utilizing HBD as payment. And that's the advantage. And this is what people don't understand is people sit there and say, well, there's going to be all these HBD created. Yeah, we need them. Because if they call me Dan starts accepting HBD as the entry fee into Ragnarok and starts staking it and never takes it out of savings other than the interest for reward pools and keeps selling in-game assets and other things associated with the game, that's just going to grow. People are going to need HBD if they want to keep playing and participating in Ragnarok. So you're going to need it in your wallet. If we get commerce, if we get Binance, if you start to build out these layer 2 solutions that end up with financial applications on them, well, you're going to need some type of stable coin, because who wants to buy interest rate swaps or bonds or whatever with Bitcoin? You want to do it with a stable coin. Well, what's the best stable coin for a layer 2? Wrap HBD. And so now you have a wrap version of HBD that's your payment system, which is backed by HBD and savings, which is backed, of course, by Hive. So all of this just kind of interconnects with each other. And then you have the backing of Hive, which is an access token. So as more people come to the chain and do shit and use threads, use views, views doesn't use resource credits, but if you comment or actually give a high vote from views, as you start using these applications, guess what? More resource credits are required, Hive Buzz, whatever it is. And that is going to drive the need for the Hive token, because somebody's going to need to get Hive and stake it and provide the resource credit. So you start to see the circular nature of all of this. And it's like HBD is just sitting there. And where else do you find this? Because Ethereum, it's like, well, USDC is an ERC20, but that's not a base layer token. I mean, it is because the smart contracts are at the base layer, but it's not Ethereum. It's a different entity. It's got a company behind it. Same with Tether. But with Hive, we got HBD. It's right on the blockchain. Counterparty risk, blockchain. There is no counterparty risk. Is a blockchain running? Yeah. Is one app running so you can get into your wallet? Yeah. You have access to your HBD or your Hive. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, man. And this is, I got a question for you. Now, this actually came up because I was, after this started, I started watching on Twitter and everyone talking and responding to Cal's tweet and discussing it, and everyone kept saying go read Dow's like posts because he does all of the math with this stuff, all of the supply and and all of that. He does it all. So what is the concern people seem to have? Can you break it down with HBD? You're saying that it's going to generate more. Is that the issue people have? Because I read somewhere something about like the stabilizer is out of HBD or something like that. Like for how would you break that down in layman's terms for those of us that are not as technically savant as you, sir?
Well, I don't know what you're asking, honestly. Are you asking what's the problem?
Is there what's some of the, other than the chain going to zero, but like what are some of the issues people would have with saying, okay, I'm going to put my life savings into HBD? What would be some of the concerns people would have?
Well, your vulnerabilities with HBD is what we just said, the chain not running. Obviously, if the chain doesn't run, you got a problem. But as long as there's one person, one server, one node running somewhere in the world, and one API that you can access through at least one front end to your wallet, you're good to go. And we know we have, like 10 APIs, and there's a number of different ways to access your Hive wallet. And hopefully there will be more. I'm a big proponent. Every application to be integrating everything on the blockchain, including your Hive wallet. Yes, you have your token wallet, but you should integrate Hive in there so people can access their Hive through your wallet. It's just another point of resiliency. Outside of that, the haircut rule is in place because at a certain point in time, if the market cap of HBD gets too high as compared to the market cap of Hive, then the blockchain cannot say you are backed by $1 worth of Hive. That's why we have the haircut rule, because the haircut rule is designed to prevent that. If we get to that point, the creation and conversion into HBD is stopped. You start getting paid out in liquid Hive in addition to your HB. You don't get HBD. All of a sudden, you can't do the conversion from Hive to HBD at that point. It's locked up until the ratio gets back in range. That's the other point of vulnerability in terms of, just the counterparty risk, if you will. Other than that, it comes down to attack. It comes down to people's lack of understanding and trust in what is taking place. And quite frankly, in my opinion, it comes down to people's lack of understanding of money. One thing I've heard is people say, and Bitcoin Flood, I asked him he wrote a post and he said it's unsustainable. And I commented, he didn't reply to the comment. Why do you say that? What makes you think that? Because people aren't used to a 20% return. They say it's unsustainable. Well, what if we need 1 trillion HBD? Do you know how long it'll take to go from 7 or 8 million HBD that we have now to 1 trillion at 20% return? It will take a couple thousand years. So obviously, and when you start to look at money and currency, if Hive has sustained growth for 30% for the next 20 years, a 20% growth in the money supply is nothing, because your growth rate just in bodies is bigger than that. I'm not even talking in transactions. Then all of a sudden, the growth rate with 30% growth rate in users is going to be much higher because you end up getting an exponential and a network effect of users, more transactions, more people buying stuff with HBD, more people involved in Ragnarok or this or that or whatever the use case is. And as people start to grow more use cases and more liquidity pools like Leo Finance's building show up and more options show up where, now all of a sudden, let's say in 5 years on CTP, there's 10 different subscriptions to 10 different apps or 10 different projects you run. And I can pay for all 10 of them with HBD. Now I got a ton of different use cases. What if John G. Olson, I can become an exclusive club member to Django and it costs me, I don't know, 10 HBD a month recurrent payments. Well, now all of a sudden, what if there's 10,000 people who do the same thing Django does? So now all of a sudden there's all these different use cases for HBD. And this is what people miss is a currency is, okay, John, you got your exclusive private membership that gets me into your exclusive content. Well, you need dinner. So, okay, I'll trade you exclusive content for 30 days worth of dinners. That was the barter system. And that's what currency is to avoid, because what if you don't like, well, you're a vegan, let's say, and well, I'm a pig farmer. Well, I can't make you dinner because I'm going to be slopping pig around. And you're like, no, I don't want that. So now we got to find somebody who has broccoli. So we got to go find the broccoli farmer to appease you. And maybe the broccoli farmer will eat pigs. So then we're cool. Well,
Rice cauliflower, please. Okay.
Well, now, I mean, this is becoming a multi-party transaction very quickly. And see, that's what currency alleviates. So,
right.
Who would deny that more pig for broccoli, the trading of pig for broccoli, if the broccoli farmer makes more broccoli and the pig raises more pigs, the pig farmer, and they keep swapping more, it would be a bad thing. Well, that's what money does. That's what currency does. It allows for those transactions. So the more transactions, the better. Right now, the only real use case for HBD, and ironic, people misread this. What is the use case for HBD? Buying Hive. You go to the internal exchange, you quote, sell HBD. Well, what do you sell HBD for? Hive. So if everybody went and dumped their HBD and went and bought Hive, there would be buy demand for Hive. The price of Hive on the internal exchange would skyrocket. Okay, it might be short-lived because it might not be sustainable. But the point being is the more now you get into utility, now you get into use cases with your stable coin. And I think one of the problems is people do not understand that we have use cases coming. People are starting to think about this and incorporate it. And B, they don't understand. You got to get outside the financial mindset and the financial arena. I mean, people keep US dollars in their wallet because they need them. People keep US dollars in their bank because they need them. They do the same thing in Canada. You got your mortgage due at the end of the month or the first of the month or 15th of the month or whenever you pay it. You need to make sure that you have Canadian dollars in there for when you pay your mortgage. So if you have, I don't know, let's say your mortgage is 1,500 Canadian, and you have 1,500 in there, you're not going to go swap that for US dollars or Bitcoin or anything else because you need to pay. You got a bill to pay. And that's what people don't understand. Now you may have some money in your pocket, in your wallet, because I don't know, you want to go and buy a coffee, or you want to buy a latte, or you want to buy a sundae, or you want to buy something. Well, that's why you keep money, because you go and spend it. And it's the same thing with HBD. As more commercial applications show up, as more financial applications show up, I mean, I keep money in my investment account because if I want to buy a stock, I got to have money there. I got to have US dollars. So why don't people equate this to HBD? And that's, I think it's just ignorance. They're worried about inflation. They're worried about, inflation and price increase, all this bullshit in the digital world's absurd, because you're talking a world that grows at, I don't know what the internet grows at, 10, 20% a year, just in terms of nodes. it's growing at, I don't know, like 1 billion people a year or 750 million people a year. It grows in transactions. It grows in websites, all the place you can spend money. I mean, it's absurd. Just think of all the NFTs you could have bought a year ago. You could have gone and spent $1 trillion if you wanted on NFTs. I mean, I wouldn't say, you would have lost a lot of money, but you could have gone and bought $1 trillion worth of NFTs. You can go and buy $1 billion worth of music from the iTunes store. Apple will take your money, and then I could go right behind it and pay the same 99 cents for a song, because you're not limited by money and currency at that point. You're limited by bandwidth. And that keeps growing. Bandwidth keeps growing. So I don't know. I mean, would I put my entire life savings in HBD? No, but I got a fair bit of money in HBD, and I'm going to have to live off that over the next couple of years unless we get a nice bull run, and maybe I'll sell some other stuff that I have. But HBD is fixed income. It's for people who are looking at yield, and 20% yield is astounding.
Yeah. Eliana's being very savvy in the comments right now, which reminds me.
I can't read it because I'm blind at night, and so do I even want to know?
No, she's good. She's making good points. Eliana's on top of things. She's good. She's all right.
Well, Eliana can straighten me out, can call me names, whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. The other big aha moment.
Did I answer your question, by the way? I went on a tirade, but
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yes, you answered it. Yes, that was it. Was the big thing to me was understanding that haircut rule better. I think more people would understand that there's that protection in place, that if it gets a little too crazy, then it reverts back into liquid Hive, which is again, if you're a fanboy of the Hive ecosystem, I wouldn't sit there and go, oh, boo-hoo, if I got liquid Hive as a post payout, right? So
see, what people need to understand is we, over the last 3 years, have taken a lot of pains, and when I say we, it's the community, the developers, a lot of pains into making things more resilient. So after Sunny Boy attack, we instigated the no governance for 30-day after power.
Right. Yeah.
We put in the haircut rule. I think that was before the fork away from Steam, but maybe it wasn't. We got HBD stabilizer, which that is adding liquidity to the internal exchange, the internal market, and it's also helping to stabilize things. Now, Leo Finance is bringing out their arbitrage bot 2.0. And one of the additions is going to be they're going to start trading the internal exchange instead of just doing BHBD, PHBD, and when they can, dealing on Bittrex, which is pretty rare. They are also going into the internal exchange and going to be arbitraging across with BHBD, PHBD there. So that hopefully, I don't know what type of money they'll be playing with, but hopefully that'll add more liquidity, more stability. So yes, there are things in place to protect the chain to make sure Sunny Boy situation doesn't happen, that we don't have a money attack or that a UST situation. And by the way, the biggest defense of of HBD at this point in the near term, until we do what I envision with the build out and adding value to HBD itself, is Hive. Because the more value Hive has, the more transactions we have, the more resource credits required, the more building that takes place. That provides a lot of resiliency.
I'm not joking when I say people need to just go and hang out on Hive Twitter to get really good ideas. Because I'll touch on another idea I had for a post. That was yesterday's win. But before that, maybe you have some little. You gotta love Mr. When Soon when he starts tweeting cryptic posts and get ready, everything on Hive is going to change on February 10th. That's the latest thing that he hit us with. Do you have any insight onto what Mr. Cal is planning here to change everything?
Yes and no. February 10th is something put together by Leo Groth, which is a nomad soul who is the head of Leo Finance Business Development.
Eric, good guy.
He has, yeah, we had him on, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe we need to get him on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, let's invite him back.
Yeah.
Why didn't we
Sure.
invite him back? Did he upset? Did he upset
No,
us?
he loves us. I
Well,
love
he
Eric.
didn't
He's great.
upset us, but did he upset us?
No. No, we don't have any upset other than Blaine. I mean, he seems to be the only one that like.
Well, Blaine didn't upset. Or is there anybody we're upset with? I mean, everybody's upset
No,
with.
I don't. I love everybody on Hive. I've never had a single problem with anyone. I mean, every now and again you'll get the "Dear Sir, when Moon" questions that are like utterly frustrating, but you know, no.
So anyway, what
Yeah.
what a Nomad Soul is doing is on the 10th, and this was actually news to Cal on the AMA today. He didn't know the date. They are releasing a project. Now, I have no insight into the project. Cal obviously knows about it. He didn't give any insight, but he did say that potentially the users on Leo Finance could double very quickly, the monthly users. So I don't know what that is. There's some type of business development. They did say it's tied to marketing, because Cal did say, well, Neil will love this, and anybody who really is into marketing will love this. So I don't know what that is. Then a week from today, the new Leo Finance will be open alpha. The UI will be open alpha. They're releasing it next Tuesday for, I guess, everybody to use. It is alpha. It will be limited in the functions and the features that are available to start. Obviously, they want people to play with those, give them feedback, and then they'll, I guess, keep expanding it over time. It is an open alpha, so it'll be a very scaled down version of what you can do. I don't think there'll be any, it's going to be threads and threads related. I don't think you'll be able to do any long form blogging, or, he did mention there's going to be some things in your profile you can't change. I mean, you'll have to do that through the old UI, stuff like that. So that goes live next Thursday or next Tuesday. So those are the two things that he says over the next week could have a severe impact. He is very high on the UI. He's been teasing it for 2 months. I call him a tease. I make fun of him that if he's like my last 10 dates. It's like he's pushing out the Loch Ness Monster there. Everybody's heard about it, but nobody has any proof it exists. So evidently the when soon is in 7 days on that. But in 2 days, we'll find out something from a Nomad Soul. I have no idea what that entails.
Nice.
Other than marketing. So Leo Finance is doing some business building things. And that, I mean, I'm big in Leo Finance, John, but this is what I love about Hive. I mean, we talked about Hash Kings, and I honestly don't know a lot of what's going on with Hash Kings, but I see them popping up all over the place. Right. And I'm ecstatic because that can only help my holding in Hive. I hope Hash Kings is a screaming, raging success. I don't have any hash. I don't have any King tokens. I don't even know what their tokens are. But I hope it's a raging success and one of the most successful apps on Hive. That would tickle me pink, even though I have no financial interest directly in it because I have Hive. It was like Splinterlands. I wasn't much of a Splinterlands player, but hell, the more success Splinterlands has, the better it is for all of us.
I need them to keep going, doing whatever they're doing, because I'm trying to exit Splinterlands, so I'm trying to get it to get some more wealth and worth, so I can exit at the high instead of the low.
Yeah. Send that to them, to Yabba, and say, hey, would you guys do some stuff so I can sell my Splinterlands and get the hell away from you guys? Would you do something to aggro to?
It's nothing. It's just time for me. I literally this year I want to focus on HBD. I want to focus on Hive. I want to focus on CTP. I want to focus on our stuff. Views. That's just. And I did just at the beginning of the talk when you just said you get your focus spread out too much. You lose it, and and that's why I need to reel things back in on a personal level. Because
Yeah,
that's when I think I do the best stuff, is when I'm not spread out like crazy. So
you're in the same boat as I am. You are a serious content creator on Hive. You put up, you know, a lot of content, and just in that you can get spread out and all over the place,
mhm,
as we both know. So, then you start to try to jump on all these different games, and then you try to
yeah,
get
it's
involved in this, that, and the other thing. It gets impossible to follow, and then go on AMAs to follow what they're doing, and go on the weekly town hall for Splinterlands, and then listen to Bulldog. I mean, it becomes full time when you don't have
mhm,
full time.
yep, yep, yep. That's a good point. Um, just to this, it's been a good show, man. We still got some time here, and I'd love to have your opinion on you know kind of the win-win-win-win-win blockchain post I made, and not so much my post is just observations, but the point that They Call Me Dan made that really got me going, like, yes, where he's talking about every upvote you give helps secure the chain. And in a time and day where everyone is talking decentralization, and everyone's talking Web3, and everyone's talking this, that, and a third, here is a real world, everyday, I'm going to say it, use case for an action on this blockchain that actually does what everyone says they want. That's just one example. And it was just this trickle down effect of what it does when you're actually curating something. Every upvote you give does this is again going back to the point from, the Hive dream. Like, is this the greatest blockchain? Is this the greatest blockchain? Because holy moly, donut shop, we have the ability to spread this token out, to distribute the token, to be truly decentralized, to put projects in place like the borehole projects, like the projects in Venezuela, the projects going on in Hive Cuba. I mean, what this does is, I can't even put it into words what's being built here. Is it just being a fanboy, or is there some real power to this that's we have here?
Uh, Maybe it's both. I mean, it's you know, I fall into the same trap, John. It's the old, if the only thing you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so, if the only view we take of things is through the Hive lens, everything looks like Hive is coming up,
Right.
wonderful. We talk about the pitfalls and the areas, that the gaps we have. I mean, I'm very open. I think one of the major holes that Hive has is we don't have a robust smart contract layer. And that was my post this morning, based upon what Block Trade said. He was on the show a couple months ago, and he mentioned that that was on his list, but it wasn't the next thing on his list. And listening to the show last night, that I guess took place either yesterday or the day before, their focus is on half, and what he's going to build is going to be tied to half. Then we've also had Disregard on. He's building some stuff, and Speak Network's looking at incorporating that. So we have a few different teams, and that's what I know about. Maybe there are others, but that's a few different teams working on smart contracts. But what Dan was saying, one of the things that I defer to, uh, because I may have a certain level of expertise based upon research on Hive, but I don't spend nearly the time looking outside that he does. And he game theories, he goes and analyzes all these different chains and what's going on. And that's one of the reasons why I'm on CTT every week, to listen to what he talks about. And anytime you throw up any project out there, uh, there's a pretty good chance he'll have, if he's heard about it, if he knows it, he'll have the reason, the flaws in it. And he's right. I mean, when you look at a um, proof of stake system, especially a delegated proof of stake system, you're into coin voting. So it all starts with the distribution of the coin. And here you have one of the largest coin holders, probably maybe the second or third largest coin holder, probably third largest coin holder. And when he gives an upvote, because as people say, not everybody can write long form content. Not everybody's going to shoot the videos of themselves and post it. So not everybody's a content creator. But when you have people going to Dan's blog and he writes an article or puts up a video and you comment and he gives an upvote, he's given, whatever percentage, that's an upvote that carries some power. Okay, he may be only doing it at 0.5%, but his vote carries a lot of HP behind it. So he's distributing portions of the reward pool to anybody who comments. And same thing as you do on our not so weekly question session.
Yeah. It'll come back next week.
You go through and give up votes. Well, quite frankly, there's so much going on in Hive right now. We can always just fill up an hour very easily. But, you give up votes for that. And, so when you look at it and you think about it from the perspective Dan is, because he's game theory in attack vectors, resiliency. He's game theory in proof of work versus proof of stake, coin voting versus proof of work, delegated proof of stake versus proof of stake, what's going on Ethereum versus what's going on Hive. How many witnesses can people conceivably vote for and have an understanding? All these things he thinks about and he analyzes and he goes through. And, God bless him, because I don't have time or the mental power to think about that stuff, but he does. And he fills a tremendous void by doing that for the community. And so then when he tweets something out and you pick up on it and we sit here talk about, but we step back and say, okay, yes, every time I hit the upvote, I get 50% of whatever that vote's worth for curation. But whether it's a post, whether it's a comment, I'm also giving 50% to the other person.
Right.
I'm giving 50% to you, John, in Canada, or I'm giving 50% to you, John, in Ghana, or you, John, in Venezuela, or you, John, in Cuba, or you, John, in India, or you in Malaysia, or wherever the comment or the post is coming from. And many times I don't even know, you don't know, we don't care, but it is feeding HP and Hive coins into that area. Now, whether those people, power up, whether those people keep the HP, whether they sell it off, that's going to vary. But the key is to get more wallets and to get more Hive power into more wallets in more countries around the world. So, Dan gave a delegation to Hive Cuba. I saw. And, that's great because that helps his efforts in Venezuela. It directs Hive power to those people there. It gives them the resource credits, which we talked about on the show, trying to get them more accounts. Well, Dan just solved that problem for him. So, Dan took care of a major problem in a nation that's, struggles economically in the Western Hemisphere. One of them. Who knows how this can take off? And, hopefully on Thursday, we'll find out more about Hive Sucre. And I followed a couple people from Hive Sucre, and every time I see their posts, I give them an upvote. So they're getting some Hive and Hive power, or HBD and HP. Plus they're getting some Leo because I'm voting them out of my Leo account. We never know where this ends up. And the distribution is what makes the coin voting possible. Because as Dan talks about with Ethereum, you can't have coin voting. Yeah, no wonder Vitalik talks down coin voting. Their distribution sucks. Coin voting on Hive sucked, or on Steam sucked because of the Ninja Mine. Well, we took care of that on Hive. So now the Ninja Mine is no longer a threat. And so, another thing that Dan talked about this week, I saw one of his tweets, was about the witnesses and how they change slowly and how that's a good thing. And I actually wrote, all change on Hive being slow is a good thing. It takes a lot to get the reputation to garner the votes. And that's the way it should be, because
do you think that scares people away? Like, just throw it out there. And it's actually because I wrote
maybe,
this down. I wanted to do a post about it this week.
maybe.
The tribalism on Hive, like there's individual tribes, but as a whole, it's a good thing and a bad thing. And this is, you can't come in here unless you got a lot of money. And if you have a lot of money, we'll fork, baby. Like if this thing goes to $20, we're out of here. Like, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, that we have this in place, but does this scare people away? Because it's not just come in, swing your hammer, and start making all these big. And if people don't jump in and start supporting you, well, I'm going to go take my toys elsewhere. Like, does that, because
Maybe.
a lot of that, that's what influencers are. They want to be bowed down to. They want to be catered to. And Hive doesn't do that. We don't.
No, well, first off, if you're talking influencers equal full of shit. That's what influencers mean. And I don't care who it is. Mm-hmm. Tesla influencers, crypto influencers, they're all full of shit. They're full of crap. Those who aren't influencers aren't quote influencers, but maybe they have influence. Maybe they have a following, but they do it because they talk about Tesla, or they talk about Apple, or they talk about crypto, or they talk about Hive, or they talk about whatever. That's a different breed. But you know what we're talking about. We're talking about those people on YouTube who sit there and talk about Ethereum going to 28,000. And they do a week of videos on that. And then Bitcoin going to 150,000. They'll do a week of videos on that. These people are full of shit. They talk about Web3. They don't live it. They don't use it. They don't use cryptocurrency. They're not involved any of that. So those people, who gives a shit? Fuck it. I don't care if they don't show up. I mean, when they do, they're full of crap. We had that one who got displaced off YouTube. Came to Hive, talked about it. Well, what should I do? Should I go to the library? And it's like, go to 3 to speak, you jackass. Nope. As soon as guy's YouTube account back, posting everything on YouTube. So, that's the way it goes. They're just full of shit. Now, the average user, yeah, maybe it does. But then you and I both know the average user, whether it's in online marketing, whether it's content creation, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on any of this, nobody wants to do any work. It's like
no work, yeah.
Instant. It's just, well, I want to earn like Tass does. I want to earn like John does. Fine. Spend 5 years every day on this chain. Spend the hours that John and I did on this chain. Put as much content on the chain and as many words as we put on chain. And maybe 5 years from now, you'll be earning what we are.
But see, there's no guarantee in that either, right? I mean, that's the entrepreneurial
There was no guarantee
gamble.
for you and I.
Right. There was no guarantee, but this is what I've always said in a lot of my training in CTP over the years, is that like entrepreneurs will work more than 40 hours a week for the chance, for the opportunity, for the potential of getting paid. Not the guarantee. Never the guarantee. And that's the same thing here. There was no guarantee for you to say, you know what, I'm going to go all in on this content creation thing. I'm going to start posting multiple times a day. There was no guarantee. Nothing. But all of a sudden, 5 years later, with the track record that you have, but there was no guarantee in it. And then that's, I think, a big problem for people, is that they look at this and they, just like you said, like, oh, well, I don't want to put in that. I'll put in a month of effort, but if I don't start seeing results, I'm gone.
And I went through Dan's Dhen's account, and I went through my older posts, and they call me Dan is one of the best known people on this blockchain. And his first few months on this on Steam, his earnings were shit.
Yeah.
I mean, garbage. Few cents. And this was months. One, maybe 2 comments. I mean, he was struggling till he found his groove. And that's what it takes. And, his posts were like my early posts. The compensation was reflective of what we were putting up. And over time, we got better. You got to find a niche. You got to find people you appeal to. You got to find an audience. But the great thing about this is you just mentioned you got to put into the potential of earning, not the guarantee, but the potential. Well, there's another layer here, because you not only have the potential to earn, you also have the potential of whatever you earn to 10x.
Right. Yep.
So it's like, okay, well, I earned,
Yeah, people
$5
don't see that, right?
today
Like,
in Hive. But
$5
if
in
Hive
Hive.
10X's, all of a sudden, every day you'll be earning $50. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, looking back over 3 years, I made $50 every day because the price 10X.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
advantage.
that's the thing. Like, I have the My Hive Goals thing that I do every Saturday night. One of it is the 100 Hive a day, and you might look at it and go like, oh, I'm nowhere near that. But to me, it's like right now I'm averaging like give or take like 50 Hive a day in rewards. 50 Hive, and that's at Hive at 40 cents or whatever it's at right now.
Yeah.
If it goes to $1, all of a sudden that's
It-
$50 a day in content creation. If it goes to $2, it's $100. $3, 150. Like it's if and this is the mindset people have got to have. I love that's why I mentioned it earlier. The Z guy from South Africa that always comes to my post. He's like, if I do this at 61 years of age, I will have that. I'm like, yes, that's the mentality.
I'll give you an example. I was watching a guy I flew into sometime on YouTube. He does Tesla videos. He's as big a fanboy of Tesla as you and I are of Hive. He has put together some forecasts for Tesla that are bigger than you and I think of Hive. And I was watching a video he did over the weekend, and he says, I'm already at millionaire status. He says, but I'm not looking at where things are today or next week. I'm looking long term. Right. And he goes, I'm looking for 20 million, 30 million, 50 million. Now I'm sitting here listening to the guy, and I don't know why it struck me, but when he said 50 million, I'm like, holy fuck, $50 million in Tesla stock. Yeah. And he buys it whenever he has money. He says he's in the process of trying to sell a house down in South Florida. So, whatever money he gets from that, and judging by the price in South Florida, I don't know what his mortgage is, but they're pretty expensive down there. So he'll have a bit of change, I guess, to buy more Tesla. And so he's going to add to his stake. And then he's sitting there saying, okay, where will it be in 10 years? And so all of a sudden I hear $50 million. I'm like, that's a lot of freaking money. And it is. But see, that's the mindset long term. So we sit here and say, okay, you make 50 Hive a day, and at 40 cents, that's what?
20-ish bucks.
$20 a day. It's like, okay, well, that's good money for social media, $20 a day, but probably for the time you're putting in, it's not a great return. But then if you're totally pessimistic about Hive, you got to consider Hive at $5. So that's like 12x. So now that 20 cents turns into, or $20 turns into $240. Exactly. 7 days a week, that's like $1,750 a week.
That's almost almost six figures, man.
that's getting some decent jack at the end of the year. Yep, and it's like, well, that's the low side. Then let's go. Well, what if it gets to $10?
Exactly.
Oh, well, now you make.
Oh, I wish more people would understand that. This is why I was losing my mind in CTP Discord today. I was like, guys, you got to be active. Like, it doesn't matter. Even if you're going around and you're getting half a Hive a day, doesn't matter. Be active, because 10 years down the road, that activity now might, like you said, 10x, it might 20x, it might 100x. Be active.
Yeah, I put some pretty outrageous numbers on Hive in posts over the years, and I still stand by them. In fact, it's getting more and more ridiculous where I think the value capture of this chain can be, because, as I said, HBD, what we started with, is unmatched. What happens if we get a number of people? And by the way, somebody putting 600K in the grand scope of things, that's not a lot of money.
Right. In crypto,
it's a lot of money to me. I don't have 600K liquid to put into anything. But the point being, there's people who are in that category. There's people who can. In fact, I think Dan bought he bought a batch of Hive and dropped $1 million. There's
he did people, it was at $1 each. He bought $1 million at $1 each, right?
So there's people who can drop $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million at a time. And so you start thinking about capturing some of these people. even just within crypto, some of these people got Bitcoin or Ethereum if you got in Ethereum at $5 a pop or $10 a pop, and you were able to put $10,000 in there. I mean, what is
Right,
that
exactly.
worth today?
Yep.
And so you have this situation where a lot of these people could come to Hive and put some money in there. Then you have a whole group of people that can access HBD, not $1 million or $2 million at a time, but 50, $100, because they're in Venezuela. And to keep your money in the Bolivar is just dumb. So you get yourself money into HBD. Okay, maybe you only have 50 HBD, but that's 50 HBD that is using the US dollar as the denomination instead of the Bolivar, which is going to crash against everything under the sun.
Right.
Same thing with Nigeria, and I haven't really read closely, but a bunch of posts coming across about the Naira, and evidently they did something dopey with that there. Well, I've been saying those people should get as much as they can into HBD of their holdings to protect themselves. That's the other aspect is you get a lot of these countries. I'm writing a post because I'm arguing with a gold bug right now, and just sets me off the ignorance. But anyway, who doesn't talk about the US dollar crashing? Venezuelans or Cubans or Nigerians or South Africans or people who see their currency absolutely and completely obliterated by the US dollar. And they know the value of having dollars. Unfortunately, the only way they can gain access in most instances to the dollar is by actually getting the banknote, which I don't know if you're aware of this, John. More than 70% of the physical dollars are outside the United States, or not within the United States. The physical dollars are outside the US. And there's a host of problems for people in those countries, to get a hold of it because the bank systems are corrupt. And it's a safety issue. You could get robbed. HBD, it solves that. It's a digital dollar to them. And that's worth a ton. That's worth a ton. So, all of this ties in together. And are we raging fanboys? Yes. Have we been fanboys? Yes. But I'll tell you what, if the network effect takes off on Hive, and if we take it, even with the social media aspect, if the social media aspect of Hive takes off to, I don't even know, 5 million monthly active users. People are actively using the apps for something.
Yeah.
The value of Hive is going to be astronomical. It's going to be ridiculous because all these other things are going to come into play. And it is the circular nature of things. We can't get away from that. So when you start talking you had 3 or 4 wins.
It's 5 wins. 5 wins.
5 wins. You had a lot of wins. I know.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that because, and I don't think you're just being a raging fanboy based upon fanatical bullshit and ideology. We can seriously research this stuff and say what's going on. And again, I go back to views. 25 million people used it with Stumble Upon, at least. That was the last number I saw at the peak. It may have even peaked more that nobody reported. But you get 150, 200,000 people actively using views each day. That's going to filter through the entire blockchain. Right. And those people are going to find a lot of other things because it's going to take people a while to realize, but this one account access all applications is incredible when you think about it. And it's like, well, I came in because of this thing called views, but now I can use this thing called Like It To. I can use this thing called Leo Threads. I can use this thing called Dbuzz. I can play this game called Ragnarok. I can play this thing called Splinterlands. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, win. It's, if you are not dedicating the next 5 years of your life to Hive, I think you're going to regret it because I've seen people who left at the start of the last bear. And we know, John, whenever the bull runs, they'll be back. And they'll be back. I mean, Jimmy Adamas, one of our favorites. He's been on the show a number of times. He kicks himself for the first year of
Kick tires for the first year. Yeah, but he got it because there's good guys out there.
What's that?
I said there's good guys out there. This is why you just got to keep showing up, because people they might not get that message today, but if you just keep in front of them, they might get it 6 months down the road, and then it all makes sense. And then just like Jimmy, he'll be like, "I'm all in." Same with Best Start, John Novak, really good friend of mine in the CTB community. He knew about this stuff when I was talking about it, but he just jumped into it recently. He's like, "Oh, I get it now. I get it." So it's you can't force it. You just got to put it out there.
No.
People will come to it. They will.
And we're still trailblazers. We're still very, very early adopters. I mean, we're in the Wild West here. It's the infrastructure still being built. I mean, we don't even have paved road yet in our town. It's
right? Yeah, we're
full
still
potholes and we're in wagons and horses and. We don't have the Autobahn built yet, but
no, there's no Autobahn, dude. It's a horse and carriage right now.
Well, let me ask you a question about some of the going-ons on Twitter and what's taking place. To me, and maybe I'm just in my own la la land, and so you can straighten me out. Since the first of the year, do you feel the same thing I do? Does it feel like an uptick in excitement? I can't put my finger on it, but it seems like there's a lot more excitement, forgetting the price, because the price, quite frankly, other than the pump last weekend, hasn't really moved. I mean, we're still actually probably down a little bit from where we started the year. But do you feel that there's a undercurrent of enthusiasm and motivation?
Yeah, because I think it comes back to this, is that the people that are here have been building here for so long. They've been through these markets and they know what to expect. And they know that if they just keep building, the bulls are going to come back. And when the bulls come back, things are going to be on another level. So all of the people that are on Twitter, all the people that are using Hive right now, they've been here. They're not brand new. These guys and gals have been here. They've been through this, so they know.
Yeah, but they have. But if you go back 6 months ago, even, I didn't sense, and maybe I'm just reading something that's not there. I didn't sense the same excitement. There seems to be a groundswell of excitement, and I don't know what it is. Even somebody like Dan seems more excited than he was 6 months ago. And, certainly we can't say Dan is anybody who wasn't dedicated, but maybe it's because his projects are getting closer. Maybe it's because
it is, but it's also the win blockchain, man. Let's be honest. That's why people are excited.
But it was that way 3 years ago when people weren't excited. Yeah.
Speaking of excited, Hive Sucre on Thursday, on the 9th. Then on the 16th,
we pray Eddie shows up, because Eddie doesn't think he speaks much English. So
okay, so not like Hive Cuba, who was totally fine, and
Hive Cuba actually. I mean, he was he was nervous about doing it in English initially, so that's why I said, okay, I'll get Eddie, and he was fine. He
speaks better English than I do. I mean,
yeah, really, but I don't know if Edmundo, how his English is. So it may be a full-on translate.
Eddie, a very good friend of the show, will help us out with that for sure.
Eddie speaks very good English, and I presume it's very good Spanish. I don't know, because I don't know any Spanish. So
yeah, he might not be, right? You don't know.
I don't know.
Then on the 16th, we've got Elmer from Like To, which is going to be an absolute blast. One of the
I figured you. Yeah, I didn't say anything. I just sent you. Oh, we got Elmer Lynn, and I figured you would have liked that one. That's right.
I'm a raving fanboy of a few projects on Hive. Like To is definitely one of them. So, looking forward to that. Dude, great show, man.
And then how about what date is Elmer on the 10th? No, 17th. 16th. Okay, he's the 16th. Just throwing it out there, maybe the week after we should get Eliana on.
That's what I was about to say, because she's still painfully watching us right now. She's like, oh my gosh, these guys are still on.
I mean, she's always here. We might as well put a camera on her.
Yeah, Eliana should come on the 23rd.
Yeah.
She's confirmed.
She laughed. I don't know what that means.
No, I'm good here.
I'm good here.
No. pulling you out of the comfort zone, Ellie.
John, to me, we just had a show that talked about dedication. That doesn't sound like she's excelling in dedication. It sounds like
Oh, she's going back. She's visiting. She's on the plane on the 23rd, right? That's what.
Now you're excuse making.
No, she is. I remember that.
Make sure you're flying one of the airlines that Elon has an agreement with. There's a lavatory. You can go in there. Just tell them your stomach's upset. You got a
You
bad
get
belly.
on the computer, right? Anyways, they got internet up there. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for tuning in to the craziness that is CryptoManiacs. We appreciate you. Go power up some Hive, and when you do that, you're saving baby unicorns across the globe. So thank you. Toodles.